To start the head, we're going to do a double chain of 18. So don't pull that first one too tight, so front to back, back to front. So we're using, so you need quite a long tail to make sure you've got enough. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So it gives you a nice cord that you can use for other things. But I like it as a start because you don't get the holes that you'd get with a normal chain. So we're going to do 3 double crochet into the first stitch of the double chain. We're not chaining or anything, just going straight in there. And we're going to double crochet all the way to the end through the middle of this double chain. Not sure what other people are calling it. I've seen it in other places being used. So just keep going. I'm just going to cut that tail off. And then when I get to this end, I'm going to do 3 trebles. No, I'm sorry, I'm not. 3 stitches to increase and get around the end. So I'm going to do 3 double crochet into the end. So 3 into there, and then double crochet back along to this side. So I'm back round to the beginning. So on this row we're going to do an increase in the end 3 stitches. So 3 increases, and then we're going to double crochet along the end, 3 increases, double crochet along the end. So back round to the beginning, ready for the 3rd row. Okay, so we're back round to this point. So on this row we are going to do an increase, a double crochet, an increase, a double crochet and an increase. So I want my increase to be at the end. Could choose either of those, it doesn't really matter because they're both near the end. I'm going to go with this one, double crochet increase. So I'm going to do my first increase as my next stitch. Thread has got stuck yet again. There we go. Increase, double crochet, increase, double crochet, increase. I'm going to double crochet all the way along the end and repeat that at the end, and then double crochet back to here. Okay, so I've completed that row. I'll just dropped my hook. So this time we're going to increase and do 2 double crochet. So I'm going to check again. I'm going to go for this one this time to sort of keep it central. 2 double crochet increase. So I'm just going to double crochet into these 2. And then I've got my increase, double crochet times 2, an increase in the end, double crochet times 2, and an increase. So again, double crochet, repeat this at this end and double crochet. Alright, we're going to be changing to dark green, so what I'm going to do, still got that slight lip there, so I'm just going to do slip stitch, cut it off and sew it in just as we have done before. So through the one below. So I've got that lovely neat finish. So as before, I'm going to go through the front. I just think it's easy to go through the front, and like I said before, you can see if the thread is showing, because obviously it doesn't matter if it shows on the back, but it does on the front. Right, back to the dark green then. And I'm going to start around about the same place. I'll start with this one. So I'm just going to single crochet. Right, and obviously we're going to have an increase on this edge. So on this one, we're going to leave a gap of 4 between our increase. So if I put an increase there, 1, 2, 3, 4, so I want this one to be my increase. Just spreading these increases out a little bit. So 2, 3, 4. Put my increase in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Increase. There you go. So double crochet along the top, increase, 4 double crochet, increase, 4 double crochet, increase, and double crochet back to the start. Okay, so I'm back around to the beginning. Now we can tell where the beginning is, but it's going to become less and less obvious. So if you want to remember this tail end, you can always pull it through, just to remind you it's just in line with the beginning look. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to work into this stitch, and we're going to just double crochet around for 3 full rows. Okay, so I'm back at the beginning, and what we're going to do now is crochet around to this end, so as near to the middle as we can. So just do these few double crochet. I'm going to say that is the middle, and then I'm going to place a stitch marker on that stitch that I've just done. So what we're going to do now is start just giving a little bit of shaping to the top. So we're going to double crochet 11, five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, oops, 11. Right, so we're going to increase and do a double crochet 4 times. So increase, double crochet, that's 1, increase, and then double crochet in the next, that's 2, increase, double crochet in the next, that's 3 repeats, increase, double crochet. That's our 4 repeats. So now we're going to crochet back round to our stitch marker. Okay, so I've just removed the marker and double crocheted into the stitch where the marker was. So I'm going to place the marker back onto the next stitch. Okay, right, so we're going to double crochet 11 again, just like last row. And this time we're going to do an increase and then double crochet back times 2. So I'll do the first one and we're going to repeat this 4 times. So an increase and then 2 double crochet. I'm going to repeat that another 3 times and then crochet around to that marker. I'm back round to a stitch marker. I'm about to crochet into that stitch. So as you can see, we've got a little bit of a raised bit coming on now that's going to be between the eyes for his hat to go on. So now we're going to crochet around until we've completed 13 rows. So we've done 9, so that's 4 more rows, and it's going to be finishing back at this stitch marker. I'm actually just going to put it through there so I don't have to keep moving it. So 4 more rows. So this is after the end of row 13. So I'm going to start decreasing, but I've got a slight problem. I'm playing yarn chicken now. So I'm thinking what I might do is put this to the side for now. And we'd make some eyes. So here's one eye that I did earlier. So I'm going to take some black yarn and do that magic ring. And then into the magic ring, it's going to pull that up a little bit higher than normal. And I'm going to do a half treble. And in fact, I'm going to do 9 half trebles. Whoops. I'm going to try 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I did consider finishing off the rest of the head with a different yarn, and then just for the purpose of the video, I'm pulling it out and redoing it, and I thought, well, might as well do the rest of the bits we need first, and then I can go and get the yarn and finish it off. So should have 9 stitches there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9. So I don't want to go in there. Let's go in that one. And then go down through that one. Alright, so that's the middle of my eye. And rather than sew the ends in on this, I'm just going to tie them together. Because it's such tight space to try and sew them in. And I'm just going to leave a bit of a tail, because then I know it's not going to come undone. Right, I'm going to go on to the yellow now. And I'm going to go back to that under the 2 loops. Excuse me. I'm going to slip stitch around under those 2 loops. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, 7, 8, 9. And then just like before, crochet through the middle of that and under those 2 loops. So I'm doing 2 in the first stitch. And because this one's already got 9 stitches, what I'm going to do is do 2 double crochets and another increase. That hasn't gone quite in the right place. There we go. And 2 double crochets. Yep. That's the only thing when you cut them like that. And an increase. And 2 double crochets. And that gives us 12 stitches. Cut a tail off, and we're going to sew this one in. And then we're going to do exactly the same with the white. So that we get those lovely neat edges. And I crocheted over the yellow, and I've just sewn that in so I can cut those off closer. Right, so white next. So again, slip stitch around. You'll be a dab hand at this slip stitching and working through it after these eyes. Move that out of the way, it don't catch with a slip stitch, does it? Go around it on the next row. There we go, pull that one a little bit tighter. Right, so I'm going to work around that tail this time. So we had 12 stitches on the previous one. And we're going to do an increase in the first, a double crochet in the second, and repeat that round to give us 18 stitches. So keep going right round to the beginning. Okay, so I've done that round. So this time we're going to go into that first stitch and do an increase and then double crochet into the next 2. So increase, sorry, didn't increase them. Increase, double crochet into the next 2. That'll give us 24 stitches. So continue that all the way around. So I've gone the way round. I'm going to slip stitch into that one, cut my thread and sew my end in. So we've got our eyeball. So next we're going to make our socket, and I've done a little bit of a cheat. I've found the centre of the little bit of green yarn I've got left, because I know there'll be enough to completely sew. Obviously I did the other eye earlier. So that we might as well have both the eyes complete. Right, so exactly the same as before. Slip stitch round in the green. Hopefully there'll be enough green to do an eyeball or a socket. Never even considered I didn't have enough, but like I said before, I'm just using odds and ends of things that are left over from other projects that I've got in. I guess I'll have a lot more green yarn. Oops. Back to that first one. Pick up my tail, make sure it's snug. Right, so we're going to do 3 rows just double crocheting around like this, and then we're going to do some decreasing, and then we're going to add a little stalk to attach him to our head. So no increases this time, just double crocheting around, so nice and easy. So I'll catch up with you when we've both done 3 rows. So I've done my 3 rows, just like on this one. I'm going to decrease that. We had 24 stitches, so we're going to do a decrease and then 2 stitches, another decrease and 2 stitches. I'm going to repeat that 6 times in all the way around. So that's 3 and the 2 double crochet, that's 4, that's 5, and that last one. That's 6 times. Then decrease and single crochet 1. I'm going to repeat that 6 times. So that's 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6. As you can see, there's barely enough room for me to fit my finger in there now, so I'm going to add a bit of stuffing. Alright, so I'm going to quickly stuff this, finish it off and add a little stalk to the bottom. Might be nearly enough. Just check my other one. I might squeeze that in. I always like to check to make sure they're stuffed equally. You don't want one looking bigger than the other, do I? That's better. So I've got 2 matching eyes. Right, so I'm just going to do a few decreases. So one there. Always tricky these ones because you're trying not to get any of that stuff in, caught in your stitches. 2. That one. 3. I might leave it at 4. I don't like to crochet all the way down to 6 stitches. I like to leave it at sort of 8 or 9. Oh, there's my needle, lost my needle then. Because I think sometimes when you close it, you can get like a lump here. But if you don't go quite down as many stitches, you can get a nice smooth back. So like earlier, when we did the top of his t-shirt, Sometimes it's easy to do them individually. We're catching the outer of each one of those stitches and then pull it tight, push it back through the middle. There we go, got a lovely finish there. And then we're just going to thread this through. Top that off. And then to create his little stalk on the bottom, I've got 10 stitches. So all I've done is I've started at this point here, because I thought, you know, where you start it's not as neat, so let's that bit cover it up. Right, so we're going to do 10, call it surface crochet. So all we're doing is going back in that one and up through a different stitch and slip stitch. So that's got one there, that's 2. So I'm just going round. If you find it easier, you could mark out where you're going to go with the pins. So that's 3. The beauty is, if you do it wrong, it's easy to pull it out and do it again. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I want an extra one at the back. See what I mean? Just pull it out. Right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to pull that one out actually, because I want to go along an extra one. So I make that 5, 6. I'm going to pull it out again. Just keep playing around until you're happy with it. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it doesn't matter if it's not exactly round. It also doesn't matter if it's not 10 stitches, as long as you do them both the same. So I'm just going to slip stitch through that first one, because although I've done my slip stitches that way, I'm then going to turn it around to crochet. You might be able to do your slip stitches the same way that you crochet, but I can't. And then I'm just going to double crochet through each of these stitches that we've just created, crochet around my tail as well. Have I got both bits? Yeah, I have. There we go. About halfway. You see, I haven't picked that one up there. So I'm going to move my tail because I don't think I need to crochet around any more of that. Make sure that I get, that's better. All of those surface slip stitches. Oop, forgot I'm double crocheting now. It just gives a lovely, neat way of joining it up. And another one. There's a little bit less sewing involved. Right, so I'm just going to sew that, leaving a fairly long tail, ready to sew it to the body, to the head. And like, you really need to watch me thread a needle, but hey. There we go. 2 eyes ready to sew onto our head of the gecko's head. So we're going to do a decrease, and then we're going to double crochet 10 times, and now we're going to decrease. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6 decreases there. Oops. And then we're going to do 10. Let's check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah. 10 double crochet. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to do 4 decreases. So 2, 3, 4, and we're going to double crochet times 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I might do a couple more. 11, 12. I'm going to do a decrease around about the middle at the bottom, and then we're going to double crochet back round to the marker, and then the last 6 stitches before the marker we're going to do decreases. 3, 4, so let's have a look. 2, 4, 5, 6. So decrease there. 2, 3, 4. Nope, said 3. Right, so I'm going to stop here, and we're going to add some features. So I'm going to get rid of this thread because we're not using that now. We've got a stitch marker. I'm going to sew the eyes on. I'm going to sew the details for the mouth and some nostrils. So I'm going to start with the eyes. Here's one I made earlier. And thread him up. Alright, and then you're going to decide where you want your eyes to go. And we're going to pin it in place. She says, not being able to see any pins anywhere. That's handy. These will do. Right, so want him there. Because it's not stuffed yet, I'm going to pin it from the bottom. Otherwise, I'm just going to stab myself with the pins. Make sure his eyes facing the front. Right, I'm going to sew around so far, and then I'm going to add a little bit of stuffing underneath there just to give it a bit of stability. Just before I finish up. So, I'll catch up with you when you've added your eyes. Right, let's continue decreasing. Now I've got the right colour yarn. So, we are going to double crochet. just around to this hump, and we're just going to do a couple of decreases when we get round there. So we're going to have one at this side of the hump, double crochet times 2, and then another decrease just there. And then we're going to double crochet around to the side, and I believe we did 4 decreases at the other side, so we'll do the same at this side. So I'll make sure it's around about the middle, so I'll just take that one out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to double crochet along the bottom. So I'm back round near this side, and what we're going to do is do 2 decreases right at the end on this row. So making sure it's around about the middle, so that's my 2 decreases. So 1, 2, and then I'm going to double crochet 10. So I've done my 10 double crochet. I'm just going to place a decrease in the middle of the hump and do 10 double crochet. So I've done those 10, and now I'm going to do 2 decreases. Oops. It's not happening, this one, is it? There we go. And then I'm going to double crochet along the bottom. So I'm back around to this side. As you can see, it's starting to close in a little bit now. So we're just going to do 1 decrease at the end this time. So I'm making sure it's the end. I'm going to go with these 2. So I'm going to double crochet and then decrease. And then I'm going to do 8 double crochet this time. Oops. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going to do a decrease, a double crochet, and a decrease. And then I'm going to double crochet to the end. So 2, another 8 stitches it is. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do that decrease. Oops. And then we're going to double crochet along the bottom. So at this end, this time, we're going to do a decrease, double crochet times 2, a decrease, and decrease, double crochet. So we want to have 3 from the end. So decrease, 2 double crochets, and a decrease. And then double crochet, 3, 4, 5, 6, decrease, and then double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a decrease, 2 double crochet and a decrease, and then we're going to double crochet all the way along to the other end. Right, this is going to be our last round, so we're going to do 2 decreases. So find the middle, you want 2 stitches to the left for your first decrease, and the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to crochet around to his hat hump. It's my new name for it, hat hump. And then we're going to do a decrease. I'm going to have to go back to holding my hook this way. Double crochet along to the end for our 2 decreases again. So that's in the middle-ish. Doesn't have to be exact. And then we're going to double crochet along the bottom and fasten off. Just before the end. Because if you remember when we did the shoulders of the t-shirt, we went round the outer loop of the stitches to pull them in, and we're going to do that again. So I'm going to carve the thread. I'm going to start it before I add some stuff in. I can't find a straight needle, never mind. I do like these bent ones usually for sewing bits on, but they're all in my pin cushion and it's taking too long to find one. It's lovely wool to work with this, not so easy to sew. There we go. Right, so I'm just going to, I've already got that one, so 1, 2, 3, 4, I get 5. There we go, 5. And then start sewing it up. A little bit. And then add some stuffing. So I've put plenty of stuffing in there. So then it's just continue sewing it up. Trying not to get your stuffing in your stitches. Pulling them nice and tight. And then we're going to go around those stitches again. I'm going from the other direction this time. Doesn't really matter. Okay, push it through somewhere else. Oops. Don't send him flying if you can help it. There you go, give him a shape. And so you end him. Alright, so all stitched up. Next job is to attach our neck. So to try and make sure that we've got it in the middle, I'm going to put a few pins in just to guide us. Right, I'm going to go on that one, I think. and I'm going to make the neck a little bit wider than I have done on previous ones that I've made, because it's quite heavy and I'm not putting wire in this, or I've not added wire, so we don't want him to be lopsided and floppy. So that's just a guide. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do some surface crochet. In fact, I'll go from the next one. She says, I'm going to try anyway. Right, so let's see how many stitches this takes us. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's take that one out. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, pick that back up, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right, so I've got 21. Doesn't really matter, but he's got, in fact, so I've pasted some pins ready to do our surface crochet to add our neck. Now I've gone wider because obviously our body is quite wide. So what I'm going to do is just go down the hole and up the next one. Move that pin. Just put the pins there for a guide. Oops. Splitting my thread. So I'm just going to go round and round. When I can see that I'm getting close-ish to the pin, do a couple of diagonals. Straight one. Doesn't really matter how many stitches you end up with, so long as it's fairly even. A fairly sort of roundish shape, or oval shape as I'm going for. Try not to pull up the stuffing if you can help it, but it's not always easy. And I've put lots of stuff in there. I'm going to crochet around that, so you're not going to see it. Get rid of that one. And then there we go, join it back up. And you can see it's an ovalish shape. Okay, not gone too close to the front of his head, because otherwise it'll look a bit odd when we join it up. And I'm just going to double crochet through those loops, taking my tail with me because I want to secure it nice and tight. So I'm going to just go all the way around in green. Okay, so I've done an extra row and I've done it in waistcoat stitch, which I'm going to show you in the yellow now. I'm showing you in the yellow because it'll be easier to see. So I'm going to wrap my arm round and go through the V's of the stitch below. So instead of just going under here, look, I'm going into the V, which can be a little bit tricky. Generally, it gives a lovely effect, especially when it's not twisted. It gives a lovely effect, but it also makes for a lot stiffer fabric. So then, hopefully the neck won't be too wobbly. So there we go, look, can you see? We're going into that V there, look. So down through there. Thought it'd be easy for you to see when I do it with the yellow. Well, it's not very tight. Like, I don't want to keep it tight because I definitely don't want a floppy neck if we can help it. Because our Gecko was quite a heavy head. He hasn't even got his hat yet, just as well as only a little one. Alright, so I'm just going to continue going around and you can see how these stitches lay inside each other. So I've gone all the way around and I've cut off with a nice long tail to sew it to the body. And it's a little more forgiving because we've done that yellow row. When we sew it to the body, it makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to go through that next stitch, one that I'm laying over, and through the back of that. Oops, bit of fluff. There we go, and that's all ready to sew to the body. I've got videos on YouTube on how to sew heads to bodies, so I'm not going to show you that bit just now. I nearly forgot to say, don't forget to add some stuffing into your neck, because I nearly sewn mine up then. I thought, well, it's a little bit floppy. But if you add some stuffing, that will also help. So it's not too bad. Also, little tip. So if you've watched my video on how to sew the head on, it's the same. The only difference is just for a little bit more security. What I've done is instead of going through these stitches, I'm using these V's, look. If I don't lose my thread. Anyway. So, a bit like we did with the bottom of the dungarees. So it was less obvious where the join was. Well, not only does it do that, but it also makes it a little stronger and more secure. So, going through where the V joins from the two stitches. Sorry, my hand's deciding what they do and don't want to do again. There we go. And then that was the first one, look, that twisted. See if we can untwist him. There we go. So yeah, that just gives a bit of a stronger than just sewing through the bottom bits. So there we go. It's not too shaky, it's not too bad, is it? So yeah, a few more stitches and waistcoat stitch just gives him a little bit more strength. Next, onto the hat. So to make the hat, we're going to start with 6 double crochets into a magic ring. And pull that tail like I've said before, and then pull the shortest one, close up the hole and pull the tail. And then we're going to crochet around that tail and we're going to increase in every stitch so that we've got 12 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right, so I'm going to bring the tail to the front and then use it instead of a stitch mark. So this time we're going to increase and then double crochet 1. Increase, and we're going to do this back around to our marker, or if you want to count, it's 18 stitches. So increase, double crochet, and we just keep doing that all the way around. See our markers there, so we've got one more increase, double crochet to go. There we go. So I've got a nice flat circle. So this time we're going to increase and then do 2 double crochets. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. So increase, 2 double crochets. And when we get back around to the marker, we will have 24 stitches. And then what we're going to do is we're going to double crochet until we've got 7 rows all together. So another increase, and the last one. Alright, so we've got 4 rows, so we're going to do 3 more rows up to row 7. Right, so I've completed my 7 rows of crochet, my 3 rows of double crochet, and I'm back round to the start. So I'm just going to do a slip stitch, and I'm going to cut off that tail that I no longer need. Squashed it already, look. And I'm going to create a peak, so I'm going to use the front loop only. So in the first one, after the slip stitch, look, I'm going to do a double crochet, and then the next one I'm going to do a double crochet and half treble, just like that, just in that front loop. And then we're going to do a treble, and the next one we're going to do 2 trebles, staying in the front loop still. So that's 2 trebles. Then we're going for another treble in the next one, and then a half treble and a double crochet again, so just reverse of what we've just done, and a double crochet. There we go, we've got a little peak, and chop off your thread. Now it's completely up to you with this one if you want to sew it to his head or just sit it on his little hat bump. So you might decide, because he sits quite nicely on there, look. Obviously if he's upright it won't fall off, or you can add a few stitches to attach it. I think I might attach it on this one, but it's got a nice, well look, there you go, he's sat on it. Might leave him actually. Bit of fun. And then there's just one more thing that he's got missing. He needs a spanner to go in his pocket. Okay, to make a spanner, we're going to start with an 11 chain, double chain. So we make our slip stitch, and we're going to go front to back, back to front. So we're taking our short tail to the back, along to the front. So we need 11 of those. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so we're going to do 2 double crochets first of all, so into the first one and the next one, and then we're going to increase. But on this increase, we're not just doing a normal increase of 2 double crochet, we're going to do 3 to give it a bit more shape. There we go, and then we're going to double crochet times 2, and we're going to do another one of those increases. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 double crochet, another increase of 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then do double crochet into those last 2. There we go, so we can see that shape is already really coming to life. So I'm going to pull it, I'm not going to chain 1, I'm going to turn, and I'm going to do 3 double crochet, and I'm going to increase in there, and then I'm going to do a normal increase of 2, and then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, I need 4 this time, and then a normal increase, and then 4 again, and a normal increase. Sorry, I've only done 3, 4, so an increase of 2 stitches, and then 3 in the last 3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fasten that off and make another one exactly the same to sew together. So I'm going to make a second one, and we need to make the handle. So to make the handle, we're going to double chain times 16. So I've got a longer tail this time. So that's 1, 2. So I've done my 16, and what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch in the back loop. So just across into the back loop, slip stitch. So all the way along. You can see this is something I find really fiddly. So we're going to continue that all the way to the end, and I'll meet you there because you'll probably be quicker than me on this one. I've just got to the end, and I'm just going to pull it out a little bit, and we're going to slip stitch back along that row. So exactly the same again, back along the row. There you go, I've finished my row of back loop only slip stitch, and it gives us a nice dense fabric for the handle. So this time I'm going to put a little bit longer, and I'm going to do double crochet in the back loop. So right the way along with double crochet, and then what we're going to do is 2 more rows of slip stitches in the back loop. So the idea being, this row will help us to fold it over, and then we'll sew it together to give it a little bit more strength. Because it's for, obviously for a child, you don't necessarily want to put a piece of wood or anything in. You could if you wanted to, like a mini lollipop stick or something, but I prefer not to, because I don't know about your children or whoever you're making it for, but most of the toys I've made for my children I've had to go through the washer numerous times, which if you haven't put anything crazy in it, it's easy enough because you can just sit it out to dry once it's done, but if you've put wood or something in it, it makes it a little bit trickier. Alright, so I've gone on to a slip stitch. I'll do this row, suppose a bit easier, isn't it? And then one more row, and then we'll look at fastening our spanner together. We've got our 3 pieces, and you'll see, by the way, that will fold nicely down the middle. So we're just going to put a few stitches on the bottom, and then sew all the way along the edge. That's we only need to go through one of those stitches. So I'm doing 2 from this side and 1 from that side. So sew that up to the top, and then we'll join it to the rest of the spanner. So that's my handle, and I'm just going to attach it slightly to the back of one of my spanner pieces, just to hold it in place, because then what we're going to do is go through the spanner. Thread's come off again. Sorry, you didn't need to see me thread a needle again. So I'm going through the handle to the same point at the other side, and just a couple of stitches. Oh, look, I've got it all wrapped around. A couple of stitches joining the handle. I'm a little bit awkward, and then after that it gets much easier, because you just want that handle to be lay inside. Maybe should put extra couple of stitches. So I'm going to go back through and get the next stitch along. There we go. And then gets easy. Look, now we're just joining these together. So we're just going to go all the way round, round there, round here, and back round to here. So I'm back round to the handle, so I'm just going to make sure that this side of the handle I always also go through, and this bit of the spanner, she says, just to make sure it is nice and secure. And then we have a little spanner to put in his pocket.